The days just keep on flying right by without any official updates in the Emmanuel Haro case, but due to the fact that there is a lack of updates and because Jake and Rebecca are behind bars right now, I think people are feeling encouraged and inspired to speak out about their experiences with Jake and with Rebecca. I mean, just within the last few days, we heard from Jake's ex-mother-in-law. We have heard from multiple neighbors in the neighborhood that lived near Jake and Rebecca. And now an employee from a clothing store that is right by the Big Five where Emmanuel was supposedly kidnapped. We all know that didn't happen now. But an employee from a store next to the Big Five is now speaking out about her experiences with Jake. She's speaking out about how Jake was acting on the day that Emmanuel was supposedly kidnapped. He was displaying this odd behavior. He was trying to cry, but he couldn't muster up any tears, much like Rebecca. And I feel like all over the news, we saw Rebecca tell her story. We saw the lack of tears. We saw the bad acting. But I feel like we heard way more from Rebecca than we did from Jake. Sure, we got we got a few snippets of Jake talking, but we got a better feel for Rebecca, right? No one looked at what Jake was saying and said, oh my God, everyone's lying. No, we looked at what Rebecca was saying. Rebecca was the dead giveaway. And don't get me wrong, Jake didn't seem believable either, but I think if we would have heard more from Jake, his acting would have been even worse than Rebecca's. Especially according to what we're now hearing from this employee of a store nearby the Big Five. But I want to go ahead and dive into this interview that they did. But first, if you're here, if you enjoy the channel, please take 1 second out of your day to hit that like button. It helps the channel so much. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. You could always donate, but hitting that like button helps as well. Now, with that being said, let's dive into this article. Strange request. Killer dad Jake Haro begged me for help after staging murdered son's abduction. I instantly knew something was off. A store manager has recalled her creepy run-in with now accused child killer Jake Haro as he allegedly pretended to cry while begging for help searching for his missing kid. Jake and his wife Rebecca have since been charged with murder following the disappearance of their 7-month-old son, Emmanuel. We spoke exclusively to Liz Meza, assistant manager of the Bada clothing store situated next door to Big Five. Liz, age 23, recalled the day Jake came into the store asking for help as locals scrambled to try and help the couple find baby Emmanuel. She said that from the beginning, those living in the quiet community didn't believe someone could have kidnapped their son. Liz recalled, "We close at 7 p.m. So right after it happened, we didn't know anything, but the next day the dad came in here. Fake tears like, if you guys know anything about my son. He was here by the front door. I was like, the detectives seem to be doing all they can. He was not crying. It was more like heavy breathing. It did not seem real. And he was wearing a hoodie too, which was weird because it was like 90 degrees outside that day. He seemed in distress, and he was rubbing his eyes. They were red, but there were no actual tears." She claims that she told her colleagues she felt his story was suspicious when they came into the store later in the day. And he was not out searching. He was just walking around the parking lot. It just felt off, especially as they're not from here, she continued. Locals here just thought, that's not Yucaipa. You might see a helicopter going around looking for a missing person, but not a baby. And then we heard the parents were from Cabazon. It's sad my sisters are parents, and I just can't imagine someone doing anything to that or to a baby. Store manager Liz said, to see he had a previous case against him, it's just crazy. Everybody wants them to confess. I heard the week before that Rebecca visited the stores here and was asking around about whether there were cameras or not. So, how many times have we heard that? That Rebecca went to the Big Five asking about cameras before reporting that, Emmanuel was missing. This was days, maybe even a week beforehand, maybe even longer. But we keep hearing that from multiple people, so I definitely believe that's true because the Big Five employees said it themselves, and now this woman that works next door to the Big Five, she's saying the same thing. And a lot of people, including her, have pointed out that Jake was out there in a hoodie. Now, I don't know what has happened lately. I live in the Deep South. It's over 90 degrees here every day during the summer, sometimes over 100. But nearly everyone is wearing winter clothes. I've never seen it before. Well, this happened within the last couple of years. I don't know what it is. Really, ever since the lockdowns, the pandemic. Ever since then, I feel like everywhere I go, everyone's always in hoodies and like winter clothing. I feel like they wear these jackets as like emotional, like support blankets or something. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how people dress now. So yeah, like where I live, you could basically be in shorts and a t-shirt almost year round, give or take maybe 1 or 2 weeks out of the year. But people are walking around like it's freaking 20 degrees below zero out here in 100-degree weather. So I don't know if I want to read too much into the fact that he had a hoodie on in 90-degree weather. But some people have speculated, including myself, that he could be covering up scratches or bruises or something on his arms because his wife has the black eye. So maybe they're getting into it at home. Maybe they're beating each other up and he was trying to hide some of those injuries. That's a possibility. But just because he had a hoodie on, I don't think that really says anything, at least in today's day and age. If you told me that 5 years ago, I would think it's really suspicious. But like I said, for some reason, I don't know what it is. I drove by the other day and, the bus stopped traffic and all of the kids were pouring off of the bus. Mind you, it's 98 degrees here. Every single kid had a hoodie on. So I don't know what is up with that stuff. But, hearing more about people's interactions with Jake, it doesn't surprise me because this is the same thing that Rebecca was doing. I don't know if they rehearsed their acting together. Like, did they get together in front of a mirror and practice fake crying? Because they both kind of fake cry in the same way. No tears at all, no real emotions. It's just like the heavy breathing. And to think about it, your kid supposedly got kidnapped and your wife got knocked out in the Big Five parking lot. What makes you think the person is just going to stand in the parking lot with your kid? Why do you just go walk in circles in the parking lot like that's going to help you find Emmanuel? All that is him putting on a public display like he's trying to look for Emmanuel. But anyone with common sense knows, hey, if you're looking for your kid that got snatched out of this parking lot is probably not where you should be looking. They're going to try to get as far away from this parking lot as possible. But even the next day, he's out there and he's going into businesses. Oh my God, can you help me find my baby? Fake crying. So a gigantic red flag. And I think that Jake and Rebecca, they overplayed their hand, if that makes sense. I think Jake and Rebecca would still be at home chilling right now if they never reported Emmanuel missing. Because none of Rebecca or Jake's, family really saw Emmanuel like that, and none of them thought it was a big deal or anything out of the norm. So they probably could have continued for a while longer. Them coming up with this fake story and bringing attention to them just made things worse on them. I guess they thought maybe they would get away with it by doing that. I don't think they anticipated for this story to blow up in the way it did. But them bringing all of this attention to themselves, going into the businesses, fake crying and huffing and puffing and fake hyperventilating, that just really made things worse on them. The public immediately suspected on day one that they were guilty. And like I said, I think that if they never came forward with that fake story, it probably would have been a long time before anyone, realized that Emmanuel was gone, and maybe no one would have ever done anything about it. Hell, they didn't do anything about what Jake did to his last kid. So I see a possibility where if they didn't make this big ordeal, if they didn't make this big scene, maybe they would have got away with it eventually. Maybe no one would have ever came to look for Emmanuel. But for now, you guys let me know what you think of all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.